course, Dr. Santosh's talk has covered some of the points which I was actually going to highlight. And we'll proceed with this particular issues regarding quality assurance and this thing. This is not a very glorified term, mind you. It is a crux of running any successful organization. Yeah, and I think it's a byword for ensuring that whatever you're going to provide to your customers, they call it. In our situation, they are the little babies, the most critical life, and this is much more critical activity than any of the antibiotics or anything you're trying to provide for. For that, we have to maintain a certain degree of quality. So it is very easy to set up a unit, but to run it you need a very systematic protocol. For a very high quality, donor milk blood bank, you will have to have appropriate safety and quality and processes. It's very. So why a quality is required? Yeah, this quality assurance in healthcare encompasses the activities and series of measures that are designed to ensure continuous improvement in the quality of medical care, and an aspect which is very crucial to the program to figure out, look at this, figure out the root cause of errors and coming up with protocols to reduce and prevent them. Two of the examples Dr. Santosh has showed you, isn't it? That while collecting, they found that milk was kept in the areas which was not freezing. Yeah, and the one where donors were providing it, they had not kept it properly. Now, have you looked into it? Are you going to look into it? Yeah, once you start looking into it, that is the source. You have to ensure that everything is maintained. So every aspect, we'll go through it very quickly. Where is Dr. Bhavna? How much time do I have? Someone can time me, give me 5 minutes before you close down. Okay. So we have quality assurance, which tells us what are the services you provide for, how do you improve, and what is the satisfaction level. Every step has to be monitored very clearly. Yeah. What are the challenges? There are a lot of environmental cultural challenges. There are systemic issues, clinical issues, and now this is the bottom line is most important for us. Yeah, that each milk bank has to develop processes to balance safety and quality within their own needs and limitations. I cannot offer a model here which will be universal to all of you. You will have to work out a model based on the guidelines we provide. Fine. If Jaipur has some problems, we have a different issue. If you are working in a very high-tech center, you will have a very different level of quality assurance. And when you are working in a very peripheral level, in a very small general hospital, well, it has its own issues. But you will have to create a model based on what we are going to tell you or discuss today. See, this is very simple. I am just quoting one of the ways of doing it, the sigma method, where you have defined the problem, you measure what is how it is being created, you analyze what could be the problem due to, how to improve, and then you control the situation. Yeah, very simplistic thing which goes round and round every problem you find during your assessments of the milk bank. Yeah, I will consider some of the very fine examples. 2 or 3 examples I will take from Dr. Santosh's talk because he has clearly told you something of that. Now, for example, let us say this. We have one service. Let's say the services for promotion of and adherence to early and exclusive breastfeeding. We actually take it. Okay, go ahead. What is there? We just take to, we promote breastfeeding. We have been doing it since ages now. Yeah, actually, I was a lactation management consultant in 1991, and since then I have been working on that. Could not get through my 100% satisfaction ever till we were able to establish these units. So what do? You do a physical inspection or observation of how the best examination is being done, how the counseling services are being run. This is a person who is evaluating this program from a distance. Yeah, you have your counselors all working and you stand above and see what they are doing, and then you pick up. Now these are the areas where these people are not able to convince. How much time they spend, how much, what is conversion, and then you get a feedback from your customer, like most of the industries are now doing, rated over 5-star, 4-star, even Uber is doing it, isn't it? Why are we not doing it for our own lactation management courses? You know, when the patient is the mother, you have to ask her, did you understand what he said? What your lactation counselors have told you? Are you convinced about it? I am quite sure there will be at least 20 to 30% of the patient mothers who will say, I did not get that point. I think I need some clarification. You know, and that is how you go about seeing how you can improve your setups. This is a thing which has been issued by the Government of India, National Quality Assurance Standards for Comprehensive Lactation Management. It's a huge module. I did not get those papers in particular. I'm trying to see if I can get those papers. Various sheets of papers are there. And each one is what is the statement, what are the checkpoint, how do you assess this, means of verification, compliance was there or not, and any remarks. Every single aspect of banking to the provider has been enlisted. Small points, yeah. Because see, this workshop is this particular aspect of workshop can be done in over 2 days. We do it. So I have been asked to compromise within 25 minutes. Bit too much to do, but of course I'll just skip this. Yeah, for example, training of the lactation support staff. Yeah, you have to observe, you have to record how many times have they been trained, on what aspects they have been trained. Are they conversant in all the aspects of milk banking? Yeah, like IFICF training is there, collection, storage. It is not necessary that that particular staff is actually responsible for any one activity. Preferably, yes, because, but in our situation, at least I work in the government sector, I sometimes even ask my ward lady to do some of the activity which contributes, including counseling. Can you believe that? You say we need counselors, but I ask my ward lady to do some counseling. When we run, because Diwali ki chutti, my 2 counselors are gone. So who's going to help run this thing? So these things happen. So what happens? Every staff member, whether it's the ward lady or the staff or the technical staff, should be conversant in all the processes in the milk bank. You never know what happens. You can't say my technician is gone, so I can't run the pasteurizer. No, we don't do that. My pasteurizer doesn't stop 365 days. It runs. So that's how you have to go about. So this is important that the support staff has got to be conversant in every aspect. Okay. Now, for example, polling looked very simplistic, but you can commit umpteen number of mistakes in that. You just observe how the things are done, and then you understand. Okay, you as Santosham already said about maintaining records. It's extremely important you register everything. Record keeping is one of the most important aspects of this whole process. There are so many of the forms have to be filled in, so as to ensure that it has got also legal implications. When you have, why this thing? It's something like how many of you, especially residents, I'll ask, how many of you actually prescribe some of those Schedule X drugs? Anyone? Like in children with autism or this thing like methylphenidate and all that in sprawl. You all have to do it in 2 or 3 forms you have to write down. You know why? It is because so as to ensure that the product is going from this person, this amount of limit for this diagnosis for this amount of time. Milk is equally self-sensitive. You have to act so critically that you have to be very sensitive that this particular product is extremely precious to us. Yeah. Housekeeping, cleaning protocols, waste management, hygiene practices, monitoring the SFC protocol, which already Dr. Santosh had already said upon. And this, look, this is my staff. cleaning every aspect of it. Doors. Do you know, some have these ledges on this thing after tiling. That collects dirt. Clean it up. Above the fridge. How many of us, even at home, don't clean the top of the fridge? Yeah, honestly, no one cleans that. बाहर का everything is cleaned up. ऊपर का no one cleans up. ऊपर कौन देखेगा? No one sees. But this is what happens. But in milk bag, everything has to be clean. Everything. Every week, one of my person is responsible for this. Of course, responsible is the field they can take care of. But what are the rest? We were guided in this particular aspect of setting up milk bank by a very leading lactation consultant from Norway, Dr. 𝐒𝐨𝐮𝐭𝐡 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐚. She came in and she found our water lady cleaning. She said, "What's she doing?" We said, as usual, she's cleaning. She said, "No." She took over the swabs from the lady. She said, "This is how you should clean, Dr. Sitaraman." And the rest of the team, yes. And she sat and told us how to clean the milk bank. You get the point? See, that is the kind of a sensitivity your managers should have. You should look at the aspect every point. So all my staff said, "Oh, such a leading consultant has been able to do this," then it's not other. So they take to heart that whenever giving anything to a child, it should be pure, safe, simple and clear. Yeah? Equipment upkeep, of course there are issues which very beautifully Dr. Santosh told about the pasteurizers. Extremely important. Automatic machines, less problem. Semi-automatic, manual, more problem. Nearly 3 volts. Why? Anyone can answer that? No, it's a workshop, so better be interactive. I am not going to speak. Who can tell me why manual sterilization is much more, pasteurization more difficult than automatic? Anyone? Yes, raise your hand. Please remove your mask. Raise your hand. Speak. Obviously, the moment you have human interaction in a system, you are likely to have more errors. Yeah, as Dr. Santosh said, if it's a manual, stay there, stay put, everything goes. When the temperature, when do you start monitoring the temperature? When it actually reaches 62.5. Not the moment you have put it in the water and started the pasteurizer, now we can have for 40. No, it has to go to 62.5 and then monitor and then it comes down. You know, the automatic thing it does on its own. You can just come out. Yeah, but manual you have to be very sensitive. So the shaker water bath and all that, one has to be very, very careful about how do you set it up. Okay, cleaning, of course, the same thing, same place. We had the same problem in this thing. If you don't have a good RO system, then you have most of the, I don't know, the hospital supply water out here. We have very hard water in Rajasthan. So we really had to work on the DPs of that because it was very hard. And if it's very hard, then naturally your pasture is going to conk off. It did conk off once and we had to wait for the equipment to be brought in from Norway. Yeah, personal, donor selection, screening, recipients, on prescription, consent forms, everything has to be filled in detail. I'll quickly go through because it'll be milk storage, of course, labeling, recording, logs. Yeah, and each process requires an SOP to be drafted. We'll give you a list of SOPs to be filled in. It's a huge list of SOPs to be drafted in your own center by your own handwriting, not cut, copy, paste. Those things you won't understand. Why do I want that you should write it on your own hand rather than cut, copy, paste? Yeah, thank you. Why do you want a manually written SOP? Yeah.
According to the requirements of
And if things come in your mind that this is not there, this is not according to the guideline we have, yeah, this is not what is happening. So you have to write it on your own, in your own language. You understand what is happening. So you have registers for like cultures. Fortunately, in our institution, we did only once we had a pre-pasteurization culture positives. Yeah. Why would pre-pasteurization culture would be positive? Any idea? Yeah.
Appropriate collection of milk. Inappropriate collection of milk.
Wonderful. The mother has not been told about the hygienically collecting the milk. Yeah? So we get a pre-pasteurizer culture positive. Post-cultural positive, fortunately, we have never had an issue at all. We have a terrific record in that. Touch wood for my, people who are doing it. But that's how it is. But it can't be true for everything. Why? I'll tell you something about what is going to happen later on, despite taking all measures. So we do have batch numbers, serially numbered and pooled milk. Everything has to be numbered and catalogued. Yeah. Here we have sections. You can't avoid this. Yeah, you should know where is the raw milk, where is the milk waiting to be tested, where is the pasteurized waiting. Pasteurized waiting means it's waiting for the cultures. Only then we can dispose ready for use. Yeah, it should be very clearly demarcated. People have started even using color-coded caps. Yeah, people have done that. Who can afford it? We don't have. We do it with whatever caps and bottles we get. But we still manage to at least label this more clearly, and this is more important. One slip here, the whole thing goes, wrong. Someone has put a bottle there, or has picked up that ready for use and given it off to someone else, or pasteurized waiting for results. Pasteurized ho chuka hai, let's give it. No, can't. So that's why these things are very small things which has been written. Milk to be given to the mother, this one. Which batch, this batch, this batch. It's just like bank notes. You should be as sensitive as that. From this number to this number goes to this, it's been issued. Yeah, finished. Yeah, and that has to come in registers also. So there's a lot of hard work regarding maintaining registers in the milk bank. Please ensure that record keeping is absolutely meticulous. Yeah. This already Dr. Hema showed you this, all the processes basically. Every aspect requires some degree of proficiency when you're maintaining a protocol. We'll come to it just later on. For example, not all of them. Some of them are very critical processes. Like the ones in the diamond are the decision-making points, where you have to be extremely careful. We always call them critical care points, CCPs, where these are you just can't avoid to commit a mistake on those particular aspects of milk banking at all. For example, she said that the hygiene has not been done well, yeah, and pre-pasteurization culture was positive. Is it a critical point? Not exactly for me, because anyway the milk is going for pasteurization and it's going to come out absolutely sterile, and my post-sterilization culture should be negative. Fine. But what happens if that post-sterilized milk, very well done, is sent to the ward? And during the transit or in the ward, what happens? Is it being kept very well? Is it being provided properly to the child? Has the nurse taken the care of taking this thing? No, she should be aware of it. Yeah, we'll come to a few examples just later on. So what we do is, what we conducted this workshop, hazard analysis and critical control point practices, HACCP, in lactation management practices. This is what exactly we have been running workshops on. 2 workshops we held in this. Frankly speaking, even I did not realize before I ran this workshop that this is so important, that this thing, because we have already been running the milk bank for last 2 or 3 years, and we said, oh, what is this, basically something. But yes, it gives you a very different perspective in finding out where are the areas you are likely to commit mistake. You have to provide the milk to baby in absolutely. But what is hazard analysis? Hazard analysis, critical care control, what is HACCP is an internationally recognized system used in food industries. Now here I would like to tell you one thing. Right from inception I was involved in the formation of the guidelines from the Government of India. It came by, should the milk be, this milk banking should be included in as a blood product, blood or serum product, or as a food product. Yeah? Anyone? Any ideas? Blood product. That's wonderful. That's exactly what I felt. It should be included as a blood product as far as the regulations should be there. The type of scrutiny, the type of accuracy in management, the type of sensitivity to issues like sepsis, you maintain as that of what you have in the blood banks. But logistic wise and practically, it is not possible to develop that. So we coolly put this into the food bracket. Yeah? So that we don't go through those tough regulations, because you know how the blood banks are set up. It's very difficult. We didn't want that difficulty to happen in our milk banks. But we want the same kind of sensitivity to milk bank as that of a blood bank, so that we maintain the certain sanctity of the product. Yeah? So this is a system which has been internationally recognized. And we go through it, we will understand how the food processing industry takes care. So what is a hazard? It can be biochemical, chemical, biological, physical agent which is in the food. Yeah? अपन देखते हैं ना, sometimes you get all kinds of issues. Burger के अंदर cockroach मिल गया, और दूध के अंदर hair मिल गया. So many things are there. Now this is especially for people who are getting milk collected outside. You know, I happen to have the opportunity of visiting Brazil, which is the core hub of you know, kind of a, we call it the leaders in milk banking. There they collect milk from all the sources, domestic, home. And who is collecting, you know that? The collection is made by firefighters and postmen. You know, they are the ones who regularly visit your homes. So they are informed, they collect the milk and get it in their cars. But what happens when they come? There's a manual look at that. One of them is just checks up. How is it collected? Is it collected well? Is there any hair? Is there any blood? Many things can happen. So these things are hazardous. And then they segregate the milk samples as they do it in the dairy products. Yeah? And that is what we are talking about, hazard. There is a very significant issue regarding contamination due to pesticides also, mind you. So beware that we are going to see that in the future. Mother's milk can be contaminated by pesticides. So we don't know how to go about that. We don't have any answer, but it is happening. So what do we identify the hazards? We prevent it, plan to prevent it, eliminate and reduce it. They are to acceptable levels which will likely to occur in the food production or distribution movement. So what are the principles? We conduct a hazard analysis. We'll tell you where are the critical points, determine the critical control points, establish the critical limits of that particular aspect. Like you can't, for example, they told you that what is the bacteriological acceptable level. Anyone who got the idea from the previous speaker's slide? How much is acceptable? Wonderful. So good, you are all awake. So that's what is important. The bacteriological, this thing should be of that. So do you establish critical levels for everything? Whether it was a thing, then it can.
This mic is also on.
Is it? No, I think this was buzzing. So you can have when we talk about these critical levels for each and aspect for proceed. Oh, this one. So every aspect in that have to be standardized, right from collection and this thing, and you label it, and SOP is there. It can change according to your own centers, mind you. Nutritional quality of the food. Yeah? Here, till now, I think except for one bank, most of them would be doing a pooling of the milk. What does pooling of milk means? You mix. I think there's something there, like. So, pooling of milk is done. In the pooling of milk, what happens is, whether it's a preterm milk or a term milk or term mother, everything is pooled in. There's not, I think, one or two centers which are actually trying to separate preterm milk and and the term milk. Okay, you can hear me?
No, with this, that's okay, sir.
No?
It's
No,
okay.
it goes on. Very disturbing.
This mic
That-
also we can. This.
Okay, so all of you would be aware that the preterm milk is different from term milk. You are aware of that? Of course. So naturally, a preterm baby has to receive preterm milk. What are we doing in our milk banks? No, we are not able to do that. We are pooling all the milk which is coming through and cutting to it. So are we going to standardize the whole thing? But there are some units who would be separating it. And that's our basically aim. The more preterm milk come in, we are trying to segregate that. The other way we have to go around is to find out what is the quality of the milk concerned. Do an analysis. That also. But this is on the higher level. We don't have to really go for it. Now, what you are doing on a basic milk bank unit, ensure that milk is collected and sterilized. That's all. Pasteurized very well. Yeah. But this is the aspect I'm telling you, that you have to be upgrading your units as the time passes and your experience improves in this. So you establish certain critical limits, monitor these procedures, take corrective actions, verify the procedures, and give a record keeping and documentation effort. These are the basic principles of HACCP. This training we do run for 2 days in our hospitals. At least twice we have done for practically most of our consultants in the milk banking throughout our state. We provide for the services, like what are the service provisions, the patient's rights. Do their patients have rights? They do have rights in regard to how they are able to dispense, who is going to receive which milk. Yeah? The support services are there, clinical services are there, and the quality management, as I already told you. I am just going to discuss one particular example, that of temperature, as a quality assurance manner. Now in the temperature maintenance in CLMC during transport to the ward, what is the potential for contamination of special bacteria? Temperature maintenance are 4 degrees in the fridge at CLMCs, yeah, when you are thawing it. Storage in the ice box with cold gel packs up to 2 hours, good enough. Fine. Suppose the ward doesn't have a fridge. Okay. Ensure refrigeration temperature is appropriate with thermometer and external digital read. No one does that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many of you have experienced the situation where vaccine storage was done. Half the time you find that the vaccine that ILI, what do you call it? That fridge did not have that throb working properly. You know, and that's what is problem. So this is equally sensitive. Yeah. And automatic switch to generator, that's the other issue. In our state, that's another issue. The light goes off. What do you do about it? You have a backup system. Do ensure that if you are going to set up a milk bank, ensure that you get a good supply of water, good supply of electricity, continuous. They're the basic essentials.
To keep your place clean, you have to have water, isn't it? If you don't have water, what's the great idea? And for running the such technical instruments, you have a 24 hours supply, whatever way we do it. That has to be done. So if you don't have that, don't proceed to land up in this thing. You can clearly tell your authorities, we don't have this, provide that first, and then go ahead with it. Yeah? Same with temperature maintenance at the lactation management centers. Now, pre-pasteurization temperature is 4 degrees if stored in this thing, maximum for 24 hours as listed earlier. Now, these things have to be kept. When was the this thing kept in? The milk was kept in the fridge. We don't know. Yeah, this especially happens when the milk has been when the milk has been transferred to the ward during holidays. Is a weekend, and in the weekend, oh my goodness, it's 2 days holidays. Milk bank will run for 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours. Then what's going to happen? Oh, give extra milk to the NICU, you know. Where is it going to be kept? We don't know. So is it working? Oh, okay.
Is it going to work? Yeah, it will work, but then how is going to proceed with each staff to know about it? They won't know about it. Okay? Okay. Now, I will not take most time lot. Storage of raw, post-pasteurization, quarantine milk and post-pasteurization culture-negative safe milk. Now, potentially for mixing of the safe milk containers with raw or quarantine milk containers, now that happens. Suddenly the mother comes, I want milk in desperation. You said, okay, just mix it in that and take it. You give it immediately, you know. Don't wait. You are getting shortcut procedures. This happens. I've seen it happening. What happens is that she comes desperately, I want that milk, it's too late. Okay, take it. Where do you get it? Oh, take it in that container. Go ahead. No, you can't do that. You have to stick. You have to stay. You have to stay and take the precaution what Dr. Santosh had said. 10-15 minutes, boil it up and then send it. Who takes care of that? It has to be monitored. Self-motivation is there. Sorry.
I'll come to this. Self-motivation should be there. There should be highly motivated personnel who look into these aspects. No, I keep it like this. Okay.
Then once they start doing it, thank you.
No, I'll do with this. Thanks. I'll finish off in 5-7 minutes. We'll have a discussion later on. So, no, even if you turn it certain. Okay. So what happens is, everyone has to check these points. And how do you check it? You have a checklist. Always. Never believe on your memory. I forgot things. 2 or 3 interruptions, I forgot 1 or 2 points. So you have a checklist every time. Never rely. My whole procedure, all protocols, all SOPs are right on the wall, on the shelf. Has then been done. You would have seen many of those forms, like income tax forms and all that. They have a checklist. Have you provided this document, this document, this document? The same thing has to be done. There is no question. You cannot say, we'll start everything and do it. No. Even for a simple lactation management unit, I'm not talking about CLMC. CLMC is hugely complicated process. Multiple people involved, multiple processes involved. You see in all the procedures. But simply starting a lactation management unit would require you to take all these precautions. Yeah? And don't be afraid on starting a lactation management unit or wait for CLMC to occur. Please, if you are, especially those consultants who are intending to start a unit, don't wait for CLMC. Don't say that once we'll start working after the milk bank is started. No. Milk bank is not milk bank. As stated earlier, I subscribe to this fact. It is a lactation management center. Our whole collection came down after 6 months of starting the milk bank, because all the mothers started providing lot of EBMs to their babies. So we didn't require that much of milk to be collected in the milk bank. So what happened? All the mothers, in tomorrow's talk I will be enlisting on that, from 70% it went into 98% of breastfeeding. That, what was that gap due to? It was a gap because the mothers had problems which were not addressed to, and that problem is addressed by your counselors. So if you want to start a lactation management unit, go ahead. Don't wait for the CLMC. It will come in a time. But concept of lactation management will start in your every birthing point. Yeah. Now this is how what we are talking about, milk processing logger. This is in the automated machine like Sterifed here. We too have the Sterifed. It gives you a log. Goes up. Now it's so sensitive. It's done it on its own. But any change in the temperature graph, we immediately stop it. Take it off. So what do? Do you re-pasteurize or you throw it? Can there be any idea? Someone put this question in an earlier workshop. Sir, we ran this thing and it broke down in the middle. So what do? Shall we re-pasteurize?
Depends on the time when it broke down, sir.
What time would you like to say?
If the heating cycle is completed, then I think the main process working of the machine is done. You can then, if
Cool it.
breaks down after it, you can then cool it manually.
Okay. Suppose it breaks down in the middle of the heating cycle.
Then you will have to check when it breaks down.
So suppose it breaks down in the middle of the heating cycle. What do? Can you waste all that milk? No. Repasteurize it. No problem. As a pasteurize. But what will happen? Something will happen. What is going to happen? Exactly. Only the milk, some amount of nutrient content will go down further than what was anticipated. But at least you have some milk there. You don't waste it, isn't it? So these things are all smaller things which have to be in black and white. Because I wrote it down because I got a call from the hospital. Sir, electricity गया वो बंद हो गया. हो गया तो अब क्या करें? What to do about it? Go ahead. Do it. कब हुआ? सब 20 minutes down the line. वापस जाओ. No harm. Yeah. And Madam has already said, if at already heating cycle, which is the primary thing, has been done, then cooling can be taken care of. Okay. See, this is the graphs, which again I told you very clearly tells you what is the temperature cycle, the chill cycle, the bar temperature. So automated machines are extremely a boon for us because they cut off the human error. But most of the units, at least 14 units in my state, have the shaker water bath and the manual units. Here the nurse has to be there, standing there, ensuring that nikala, dala, take it off and put it back into the coolant. Not the whole things are there. Some of them can run the cold also in that, but that is not possible. But they're highly labor intensive, highly dependent on the human factor, and their errors can be there. Fine. So these guidelines have already been discussed with you. And the thing for milk distribution. Thawing is a major concern, mind you. This is where you have, your milk bank has done all the good jobs. It's collected the milk well, pasteurized it, cultured everything, but crisis comes when it is thawed and distributed among the newborns. And if the thawing is not done properly, you, for example, the nurse, we all know that the nursery staff is definitely hard pressed for work. At least I don't know what the situation out here. My staff always cries, we need more people. So much work to do. Yeah, so they will say, can we have some shortcut? Put it in the microwave and get it fast, warm and distribute. No, you can't do that. It has to be thawed properly under the fridge and kept outside and then given. Yeah. So that these things can't be done. This has been imposed repeatedly, and actually it doesn't happen that you do it once. nothing stays there on the paper. It has to become a culture. And for what do you have in culture? When you are rapidly, every day, in and day out, you are checking on that and telling them this is not to be done, this is how it should be done, this is how it be, so that they get, transformed. They are whitewashed, their whole brain is washed off all the wrong attitudes. Yeah? Because work is increasing. So they may try to take out shortcuts. Yeah? And of course, written document is to be there, appropriate labeling of every DHM container and record. I have already told you that. Now, what happens to the milk? You should know exactly what are the characteristics of the milk, where it's being expressed, where is temperatures taken, where are the cooling practices, water pasteurization practice. These are all to be, each one has got an SOP. What is to be done? Microbiological profile, have you kept a record of the macrobiological profile? Whatever comes in. Have you said this batch was sent on that date, sterile, attached report? No? Now these are critical points. You can't afford to miss them. And this kind of a quality assurance is extremely important. How to go about it? You have to write SOPs for everything, recording periodic evaluation, monitoring, even trainings. And this is the master list of SOPs. I don't have to tell you, the organization we helped us set up was the path people who helped us designing that. Every aspect of your processing and storage and transport has got a SOP. SOP you all understand, no? Standard operating procedures. Yeah? Handwritten, each and every point is to be taken. This is the training we have done for the HACCP training, which because they are the consultants from our milk banks. This is also a regular training we do for our staff on periodically. This is a periodic, what we call the reorientation, orientation, then reorientation and reorientation. It goes on. Only yesterday I got a WhatsApp, sir, last training we had in 6 months. When is the next? Good. Because of new staff entering into the system. We have lot of transfers. Despite all our possibilities, we train them, they get transferred. So we have to train the newer staff. Yeah? So I end up with what is said is to err is human and to cover up is unforgivable and to fail to learn is inexcusable. We have to build safety, and I thank my team from Jeevandhara, which is the name of my milk bank out there. I still call it the milk bank, though it is now redesigned as a lactation management center. We have got a faculty from PATH who help us in this. Dr. Kannade and Shanbag who did our training for quality control. Quality is not an act, it's an habit, and so you can keep those babies safe. Fine? And thank you, but there is something here I have. I don't want I take 2 minutes. I don't want my talk to be wasted. No? Or all the talk of all the 3 speakers who have spoken now. So, I will just point out to the person who is going to answer this question. What is wrong with this picture? Yeah? Contaminated. Rusted. Why rusted? Poor quality of containers bought. Don't rely on mass purchases from any organization. Ensure that the quality has been ascertained very, very well. Okay. Now what is wrong with this? Yeah? Nothing wrong? Milk ward में भेजा है. It's been sent to the ward, and what does the nursing staff do? Just plonk it right in the on the injection table. No, it's a sterile product. Keep it safely in a proper manner. Now you can know anything can contaminate that. You know? What is that? Yeah? Anything? Immersed and doing what? Thawing it. These are real life photographs. After we did an inspection, we did conduct an inspection for all our 17 milk banks, unannounced. Yeah. So it's a, see, we are not trying to pick up any faults, but we have to make them realize that these things are very important. Now this is the way, not the thaw. More, first of all, not to do this, and moreover, it's also immersed in water which may be contaminated. Now look at that. What is this? Exactly, transportation. There no other way. डाल दिया ice के अंदर, unsterile ice picked up from that ice wala outside who is baking those kulfis. 4 or 5 bricks of that, and along with that your sterile, beautiful, healthy milk has gone inside that. So now these are the things you have to pick up, and that's what quality management is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your wonderful experience and making the audience interactive.